Television visuals from Wuhan, China made for distressing viewing. Hordes of people were getting infected. Hospital facilities were getting overwhelmed. Before long, it was declared a pandemic.
We're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Countries were getting hit, numbers were shooting up, and deaths were tripling. It was only a matter of time Ghana was going to record its first case. March 12, 2020. It happened.
The Minister of Health has confirmed 2 cases of COVID-19. The cases were confirmed on the 12th of March, that's today, 2020.
Our lives were to be altered. New ways of doing things. Work schedules were to change. Not even family and social relationships were spared. Parts of China, Italy, Brazil, Germany were on lockdown. By the time Ghana went on lockdown, 58 active cases had been recorded with only 3 deaths.
Effective 1 a.m. on Monday, 30th March, some 48 hours from now, I have imposed, pursuant to the powers granted the President of the Republic under the Imposition of Restrictions Act, 2020 Act 1012, restrictions on movement of persons in the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area, GAMA, which includes Awutu Senya East Municipality, and the Greater Kumasi Metropolitan Area and contiguous districts for a period of 2 weeks, subject to review.
Countries were in a state of paralysis. Businesses were closed. Production ground to a halt in many countries. Governments dished out generous aid packages to businesses and individuals. In Ghana, the Gender Ministry and other individuals as well as NGOs distributed food aid to the most vulnerable groups. The Ghana Health Service then began rolling out a response targeted at testing, tracing and treating the people. It was heralded as a success story. Not many countries this side of the world had control of the pandemic.
The emergency ward has, in fact, more than 30 patients over there, and only 1 person is off oxygen as at yesterday. So the rest are all on oxygen, and not that any oxygen, they are not rebida.
In the hospitals, treatment and isolation centers, people were suffering. Health workers were overwhelmed.
Just recovered from COVID. I did not like the experience. It was a really bad experience for me.
Most of the individuals coming here have tested positive already. Some of them too haven't tested yet. And we are opening the sample. There's going to be creation of aerosols. So if you are not fully protected and you are working here, you'll be exposed to the virus and you can get infected.
And the reality of an invisible enemy claiming lives dawned on us. From 3 deaths, the figures rose in tens. And just as people were being infected, a lot more were being buried. Be it painful supervised earth burials by environmental health workers or cremation, the statistics were becoming faces. Faces of people. People we know.
We are going, heaven knows where we are.
So what you see in the background is the lowering of a casket into the tomb, 1 of 5. And they tell me that they do this every week and the numbers keep rising. Government began to ease restrictions to allow businesses bounce back. Not many entities were covered by a stimulus package set aside to cushion them. Kikibi's restaurant, like several others in the hospitality space, were on their knees.
Kibi's as a restaurant applied for the $600 million that is being disbursed by NBSSI under the National Hospitality Association of Ghana And till now, we haven't received any information. We don't know if we qualify, because after applying, you need to be qualified. So when there's no information as to how much has been dispersed, and then who qualifies in order to wait, and expect something, and who doesn't qualify, we're all just there not knowing what's going on.
Schools remained shut for 11 months. Private school operators were out of business. For some, converting their private school facilities into residential apartments for rent was the way to go. There are untold stories of the ordinary slum dwellers, persons with disability, and other minorities that remain in the shadows. The several thousands of job losses are there for all to see. The frontline health workers also continue to lament unpaid allowances.
From the 20th of April through the whole month of May till almost the 3rd of June, we have not received any payments, only to be informed that the contract was to end on the 19th of April. And we're like, how? We were working all this while we were taking the data, and people were risking their life to work, and realize the case, they inform us that it was just ending 19th.
There are doubts over Ghana's handling of a pandemic after the initial steps. Political activities returned ahead of the December elections. There were huge campaigns and rallies with no respect for protocols. The Ghana Health Service would not admit that contact tracing halted along the line, but that was the reality.
We were doing the contact tracing until the cases were down, but we were later informed that the contact tracing was just from 1st April to 19th of April.
But the decision to drop the ante would come back to haunt us. Even while land borders remained shut, there were still people moving in and out of neighboring countries. Reopening the air borders also presented a fresh challenge. Government will go on and procure the services of a company to conduct mandatory tests at the airport for arriving passengers.
As at close of business last night, 6,976 tests had been done, out of which 16 positive. 4 of them have been hospitalized, but do not have severe symptoms.
The minority in Parliament has raised value for money questions over the procurement of a Frontier Healthcare Services company. Government says some of the procurement processes were sidestepped because there was an urgent need for the services.
I believe you agree that to pay $150 and keep Ghanaians safe, it is worth doing that. And it's going to be borne by the passenger. I think this is important. The cost is going to be borne by the passenger and not the state, not the taxpayer.
In January this year, Ghana began seeing a fresh spike in cases and what experts said was a second wave. The Ghana Medical Association was livid several suggestions to government to reimpose restrictions ahead of the festivities and electoral processes were not heeded.
And the fear is that if things continue in this way, we are likely to have more deaths and more hospitalizations and possibly some other complications that may come out as a result of this. So the trend of this COVID in the country is not very good. And for me, it looks as if the measures that have been put in place do not seem to be having net impact on the outcomes that we are seeing.
And from that point, Ghana's new case record rose to an average of 400 to 700 daily. And in a matter of 10 days, over 100 deaths were recorded.
In a week, we've lost 76 people.
Okay.
In 10 days, we've lost about 100 people. Currently, every day we are losing roughly a little over 10 people. That is what the situation is.
At the cemetery, more ground is being cleared to accommodate the bodies.
When I came, the burials were done around this side. Now, I have seen that this entire place has been cleared. It means that You have many more bodies to bury.
Yes, that is exactly so. Upon the plea and cry that we'll be making reports around, where we were burying was not very conducive because the space was not easy to move around and turn around. So we were given the green light to arrange resources to clear the land, looking at the numbers that we are having as of now.
And the numbers continue to spike. Isolation and treatment centers remain full. Many others without symptoms continue to walk around. 1 year on, Ghana is still hanging on.
I was the first person to be admitted at Ghana East District Hospital. And I was alone in that big compound for the first 4 days. And it was between myself and my God. They brought the gentleman. What I realized that the gentleman was very weak. He was having drips, all kinds. I think they say all kinds of symptoms, positive, diabetes positive, a whole lot of things. And I was always encouraging him. We were praying. I think the fourth day, then they just called me that Fred. They will send me to a different apartment because the guy's condition is strong. So they sent me to a different apartment. And lo and behold, the following day, I was calling this of my friend. I called him several times, not knowing he passed on.
Between 12 March 2020 and now, over 650 people have died. Ghana's total confirmed case count is nearing 90,000. Some reimposed restrictions on weddings and funerals appear not to be yielding much. In fact, those restrictions are better off not in place, on the evidence of what we see on weekends. It's now more of personal responsibility than the healthcare system accounting for you. Because in some of the private facilities, you would have to cough up at least 20,000 cedis by the time you are being discharged from hospital. That's if you are lucky to make it. But with the commencement of a vaccination program targeted at 20 million Ghanaians, government hopes to get the situation under control.
All that we are doing, this testing, treating, tracing, is intended at making sure we pick you early and you don't get severely ill. So the vaccines provide that answer. We, those managing the pandemic, have gone for the vaccines to prove to you that we will not let you take something which is inferior. Government will work hard to procure a lot of the vaccines. As we speak, between this month and May, we are expecting 2 to 3 million more vaccines from COVAX. Sputnik has given us some few thousands as a gift from the Russian Federation. Indian government has given us some 50,000 as a gift. COVAX is bringing some 2 million. The Minister of Health, Honorable Kuku Ajimamenu, is also working with the Russian government to bring in some millions. We are looking at about 10 million Sputnik vaccines. So we are in good shape. Within the next 10 months, hopefully by October, it's our target that all those 20 million who are the target should have been vaccinated.
This will mark the beginning to the end of this pandemic.
Any Ghanaian who goes out there to take the vaccine will go into the history book of Republic of Ghana that you were part of the people or the society that really kicked out COVID-19.
For now, it would appear life is gradually getting back and the economy is on the road to recovery. But posterity would remember the year 2020 and how it dealt the world a lesson that will change the face of healthcare delivery. To all our friends and family who are among those who succumbed to the ravaging disease, we remember you, and we remember you forever.